Making Bibles and Barbells Podcast. I am Coach Justin. I'm joined by Coach Amanda and Coach Asher, who has not been on the podcast before, but he's been working with us for a little bit here, and also Zach, who's a guest. Both Asher and Zach are medics. They're first responders. That's their main day job. That's how they provide for their families and serve their communities. So we're going to talk about particular considerations as it pertains to first responders. There are a lot of particular challenges because it's shift work. There's a lot of struggles around, obviously, sleep, diet, and also mental issues. First responders see things that are hard to forget sometimes, and that's exacerbated by low sleep, poor diet, everything else, poor fitness, because it's really easy to let yourself go just because everything is sort of working against you as it pertains to the job. And it's also a physical job. So it's a triple whammy there. So before we start, we haven't introduced Asher yet on the show. So Asher, could you kind of talk us through your background professionally, what you're doing, maybe a little about your family and everything like that?
Yeah, so I'm Asher. I'm a new paramedic, but I've been in EMS working on ambulances and various settings in New Hampshire and Vermont for about 8 years. I got into EMS because I thought I wanted to be a police officer, and I just fell in love with it and plan to do it as a career. I'm a family man and a foster dad. I have 5 kids at home. The oldest is 15 and the youngest is 3 months. And a Reformed Christian. I'm a member of a church in Massachusetts. And addicted to staying busy, and fitness has been one of the things that has piqued my interest, and I'm very passionate about strength as it relates to first responders and longevity in the field. Yeah,
definitely. And you're also addicted to nicotine and caffeine, like most of your cohorts too, I think.
In good company.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. We did, I don't know if you listened to it. No pressure if you didn't. We actually did a whole show a few weeks ago, I want to say, on nicotine, or a month ago or something like that. Might be worth a listen if you haven't. We did a little bit of a deep dive there. So Zach, can you introduce yourself next? Same kind of deal. How long you've been doing this? What got you into it? And tell us a little bit about your personal life.
Yeah, so I'm Zach. I'm an advanced EMT and current paramedic student. I got into the field. First of all, I've been in it for about 5 years. I got into the field because, like Asher, I wanted to become a police officer, and I kind of just fell in love with the medical field. I'm currently married, and we are working on children at the moment, and I've been married for about 4 years now. So my big hobby at this point is just working on fitness. I just recently gotten myself to 220 pounds from 430 pounds, very obese, very out of shape, especially for the career that I'm in. So
you were that big when you were doing this work?
It was tough, but yeah.
How did you do the job? That seems impossible to me.
It was almost impossible. I got really strong legs now. That's kind of the only.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you have huge calves.
Yeah.
No one ever insults your calves, do they?
No, never. No.
He was strong even at his heaviest, though. I mean, we'd be carrying these few 100-pound patients, and I'm like struggling. And I remember this one scene. Zach is using one arm, and I'm like double handing it and like almost losing my grip. And Zach's single arm.
Wow.
He's like, yeah, whatever.
Tall.
That's awesome. Cool. So how long is your, I would say, fitness journey gone for? Like, when did you start taking this seriously and start losing weight and training and things like that?
Yeah, I got really serious about it about a year and 8 months ago. I had recently gotten some blood work back. It wasn't good. I found out that my liver wasn't doing very well. I was extremely diabetic, which I kind of figured. I had a lot of the symptoms. And, just working in the medical field, you kind of know the symptoms. So that was my new goal, is to work on that and to not die was the original goal. And then as I had lost the weight, I'd gotten to the the gym and completely fell in love with it. I had seen massive gains with just losing weight, but over the last few months, just the gains of like building muscle and building a good physique has just been like kind of an obsession for me. I've been really enjoying
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So along those lines, that's a good segue into the beginning of our first topic here. So as it pertains to like fitness and things like that, we'll talk about weight and diet and other things as we go. Obviously you were decently strong before because you had the big boy gains. But like both you guys have experienced your job pre getting into training and everything else. What have you noticed that training has made easier and made gone better for you on the job or off the job too? Is that,
Yeah. Asher, did you want to go first or?
Take it away, Zach.
Sure.
I'll follow up.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, just overall moving around, going up and down stairs, getting down on the ground to do CPR before was really tough because just all that weight on your knees is painful. And now I can do that all day. Getting up and down off of the ground was my first goal was to just be able to get up off the ground without taking 10 minutes and, both arms and trying to pivot on one side compared to the other. Yeah, that was the toughest part was just like my overall mobility was awful being that heavy. So.
Yeah. I'd imagine because you guys end up, and you obviously deal with a lot of people that are on the floor. So you're having to bend over. You have to having to kneel down, do a lot of work, bent over and stuff like that. I imagine that kind of trashed your back too.
Yeah, my lower back. And that's kind of like the thing for everybody that works in our field is their lower back because we don't lift properly. And that's one thing that, lifting weights has really shown me how to like do better. My lower back is significantly stronger and not as much as in pain every now and again, but not so bad.
Yeah. You said a good phrase there. I want to touch on real quick. You said you can't lift. You don't lift properly. Yeah. You can't lift properly in your line of work. That's not like you don't have the convenience all the time. You don't get to just grab a handle. People don't have handles. You have to pick up people. You have to move equipment, things like that. It puts you in awkward positions and you don't have the convenience of always lifting with your knees, whatever that actually means anyway. We've attacked that in other podcast episodes, but you don't have that convenience. You need to be able to pick things up while your back's twisted, while your back is, a little bit arched and things like that. Those are natural positions the human body accommodates. It's just that if you're not training, then the injury risk obviously goes way up because it's not like you pick things up differently now.
Right. Yeah.
You still have those awkward positions. You're just less vulnerable to injury when you're in those types of awkward positions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just overall building strength is huge. If you don't have any strength in your lower back, trying to lift somebody up off the ground that's 250, 300 pounds, if not more, you're going to hurt yourself. It's not a question of you might. It's a question of you will over time.
Yeah, definitely. So, Asher, do you have anything you'd like to add on to that?
Yeah, so my own journey, I was a super skinny kid, and before EMS, I worked in childcare, and because I wanted to be a police officer, I started lifting weights, and I went from like 145 to 185, a slim 185, and then between my wife's cooking as I got married and going into full-time EMS where you're sitting around or running around and nothing in between, I ballooned up to like 230, 240 in a couple of years. And it did a lot to my confidence and also how I think people perceived me being in that state. I remember having horrible struggles with GERD, heartburn. And I started lifting weights probably more consistently, probably 2 years ago now, and I'm down to a slim 190 now. Probably not as strong as I've ever been over the last year with various life circumstances and paramedic school and stuff, but the skills of being able to choose to do something hard are completely essential for being a good worker in any field, but especially this field. And my own confidence in myself that I've learned to apply that into my family life has been a huge thing as a foster dad. Choosing to do something hard, it's a skill you need to have. And all through paramedic school, I graduated top of my class, and being able to apply myself and do the hard thing was really, really valuable.
Yeah. That touched on it. So like a couple of questions to lead off of that. So do you guys both feel like at this point, in your journey, because it's not like you guys have been training that long, honestly, like it's still the fairly beginnings of your lifting career. You guys have a lot of strength gains to go, if you want them and you stay consistent. But even in this short amount of time, would you say that you both have experienced just a lot less tweaks and things like that on the job, that you're just having a lot less problems there?
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the other thing along with that, so I've noticed this myself, and most people listening to this are Christians, of course, and I think that Christians dismiss some of the those ancillary benefits we get from training. And you mentioned respect. Obviously, there's the self-respect aspect because you've accomplished something. But I have noticed, and I think this is pretty universal, that in general you will command more respect if you're fit. You don't have to be hypermuscular. You don't even have to be like you don't have to be my size or anything like. Not that I'm huge, but I'm decently muscled, and so like I've noticed that people give me more respect because of that, and it allows me to do my job easier. It allows me to interact with people in social settings better because there's like less of a barrier there as it pertains. Like people just trust you a little bit more, and in your guys' case, you might be telling people to do things that are life-saving. You might need them to, obey certain commands and things like that. Would you say that you think that you've kind of experienced that as well? Particularly I'm asking in the workplace as it pertains to the patients you're dealing with, and maybe even your colleagues.
I think
Zach,
so.
you first.
I mean,
Go ahead, Ashley.
Go ahead.
Okay. I know that I have, being 430 pounds and trying to tell somebody that they need to get their diet under control because it's killing them is kind of an oxymoron, really. But
Yeah.
it's hypocritical. You're a super big hypocrite. And that was one thing that I was like, I got to practice what I preach here because it's not good. And definitely, like, people definitely not trusting a word that I say because they look at me and they're like, dude, you're bigger than I am. What are you talking about? And now if, I tell somebody, they need to do something, they are more inclined to listen. And secondly, we work a lot with psych patients. And when you're out of shape like that, you don't really command as much respect and you definitely don't get it. Being a lot more in shape is kind of an intimidating factor, and people are more inclined. I'm not saying that I'm trying to be intimidating whatsoever, but it definitely is more intimidating for others, and they're more inclined to listen to what you're saying. And that's just from my experience, personally.
Yeah. Asher.
I mean, a huge part of our role as EMS workers is to educate the community and be advocates of health. So it's totally inconsistent for you as an EMT or a paramedic who couldn't even get up the staircase carrying your equipment to be educating your patient on managing their risk factors for cardiovascular disease and diabetes when you're not doing those things yourself.
When your A1C is like 8.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah. Yeah. You said 12, Zach. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, it's 12. 4.6.
And that's up
so
there.
we're doing better.
Yeah, no, that's great. Honestly,
Wow.
yeah, that's just fine. Yeah. So, and that makes, I mean, I've experienced that. I mean, Amanda, I'm sure you've experienced the same. People just tend to, they just tend to be, they tend to give more respect. They tend to, I think, be more apt to just listen, if you will, and that kind of thing. Man, I think we lost, is Amanda and Zach are both frozen.
Oh,
I'm frozen.
I see him
Am I back?
fine.
Oh, really? That's weird.
Yeah.
They froze for
Mhm.
me. Let's just keep powering through. Then maybe they'll
Sure.
start moving for me. Cool. So the next thing I want to talk about was sleep. You guys are doing shift work, and you know I don't know what your schedule is like, but since you guys both work for smaller departments, I imagine there's some on call time. You could be woken up in the middle of the night, that kind of thing. Even if you're home, you might be on battalion or something like that. So your sleep schedule is going to be all over the place sometimes. You may not know when you're going to be able to sleep. You know, in a typical 24-hour period of time, you don't know when you're getting sleep. You might be sleeping during the daytime, nighttime. It's fairly unpredictable because you're on, you know, you're basically there on demand. So let's talk about some of the ramifications of that you guys have experienced, and then maybe we can talk about some of the ways that you deal with it too, that some of that damage can mitigate. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, shift work isn't healthy. You can't make it healthy. You know, in a perfect world, we'd all get our like 8 hours of sleep, you know, starting at like whatever, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that. But that's far from anything that you guys are able to do. So what have you guys noticed as it pertains to, obviously you get tired, but let's talk about more than that. What does it do to you mentally? What does it do to you physically? How's that affected you doing shift work like that, Zach?
yeah. For me, so I work 24-hour shifts a week. Plus, you know, we could be picking up more because we don't get paid very well, so we got to put in the hours. So we're
Yeah.
not only a 911 service, we're also a transfer service. So we do interfacility transfers from one hospital to bigger hospitals. And that
Okay.
could mean that we're getting up at 3 a.m. and driving from our rural area in Brattleboro, Vermont to Boston, Massachusetts. I'm saying things on shift and it's not good, but paranoia is kicking in. Yeah, but we could be going on these really long distance transfers at a blink of an eye at
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning. So for us, it's definitely like sleep is huge. Get it when you can, kind of deal for us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean
Asher.
the challenges are different depending on your context. Like, if you're a police officer working night shifts, usually that's consistent. Maybe but they could even have you on a rotating shift where
Yeah.
your days half the week and nights half the week. Talk about awful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a similar schedule to Zach. I do two 24-hour shifts. And challenges that I face with that is I'm not even 30 yet, but I feel like I'm getting old that I can't handle like even two wake ups in the middle of the night. Devastates my
Yeah.
entire week. Like I never recover from it
Yeah.
until the next
Yeah.
week. It takes me like 3 or 4 nights of solid uninterrupted sleep, which as a young dad doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's all
Yeah.
sorts of the interfacility work is devastating because you're up at 2 and then you're up for the whole rest of the night driving to Boston and back. I've worked for volunteer services in the past, and that's like what you're talking about, where you're home and you have to go into the station if there's an emergency.
Yeah.
And so your rest is disturbed even if you don't get a call, and then running out the door in the middle of the night. The circadian rhythm disruption is huge, and studies have talked about for fire and EMS, because they're sleeping on shift, you could go from dead REM sleep to this huge fight or flight response in a matter of minutes, because you're going off to an emergency, and how it's devastating to your nervous system. We're not meant to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on a
Yeah.
constant
I mean,
pathetic. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, people that work in first response, whether it's police, fire, EMS, they're constantly operating on a sympathetic nervous system. So their cortisol levels are out of whack. Their epinephrine levels are like massive because they're constantly in that ready to go. I have to fight response. And that can get pretty exhausting on the body after a certain period of time. So it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. So, and the thing is too, with what you guys do specifically, you're making a lot of quick decisions. I know a lot of it's procedural, it's memorized, but at the same time, that recall, you still have to make decisions. You still have to process data as it comes at you in real time and make a decision that could be potentially could have life-saving or life-ending consequences if you get it wrong. So that doesn't make it easier to make those decisions. And then you put on, on top of there that you're sleep deprived. Maybe it's, your second day of that 24-hour shift and you haven't had anything more than a few hours at a time, once or twice, at best. So you haven't even maybe even had a full REM cycle. So by the end of that time, I imagine you guys are experiencing brain fog and just severe mental deterioration, because you're not what you were just a couple days before when you might have shown up and been a bit rested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I'm sure some of that can be combated because your adrenaline goes up when you get those calls, and that'll make your brain fog disappear for a temporary amount of time. But the reality is you're still in that fight or flight mode. Even whenever you're at home and on call, you're probably still, maybe your resting heart rate's higher because you could get called in at any minute. So there's never really a full relaxation or time that you feel like you can step away from the phone or whatever it may be, that you're just constantly in that state. Is there any kind of training that they prepare you for when you're going into a field like this that, I guess it could be kind of a twofold question, both to prepare you for that, or any physical tests that you're supposed to be able to pass to go into that and make sure that you're prepared?
Yes, some departments do. Not as far as what you can do to mitigate your fight or flight response, but as far as trying to maybe take deep breathing, and then as far as being prepared for the job physically, a lot of departments require a physical fitness test. The private companies that like one that I work for, they do a very janky physical fitness test. You have to be able to lift 15 pounds. If I could only lift 15 pounds a day, that'd be great. But that's not the case. So we don't get a lot going into it. And I think that's one of the things that has such a huge turnover rate in our lost my camera.
I turned it off. It was getting too laggy. I couldn't hear you.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Just keep going. Keep going like it didn't happen.
Perfect. So yeah, they can prepare you for stuff like that, but other than that, you don't get a lot of training, and you have a huge turnover rate because people go into this line of work expecting one thing, and this is one thing that they don't even think about. That is a huge thing in our line of work that can definitely be a deterrent.
Yeah. Zach, what kind of strategies have you seen, departments practicing? I imagine there's probably not a whole lot of support in this area, but I've heard that there's been some more recent discussions, in your circles around this stuff. And we can talk about things you guys might not have been told to do by departments that, coaches know to do and that you might have run into in your own personal research.
Yeah. We have a bigger department in the area, and they really stress low caffeine intake, so low on stimulants, and really high in strength training. Strength training it's not just to build muscle and build a physique. It's to, one, you're getting stronger, and then two, you're kind of teaching your body to handle these stressors a little bit better than somebody that isn't in shape could. Not only are you getting stronger physically, but you're getting better sleep. You are, you have a better resting metabolism. There's all sorts of things that it's doing for you. So that is definitely another big thing that one of the bigger departments in the area pushes. And it's something that I'm really trying to work on with our department here, because it's not emphasized enough, physical training.
Yeah, it also, with the insulin sensitivity increase, it also means that what epinephrine you do produce will actually be used more efficiently. and more properly, because one of the things that's obviously doing is harvesting glucose from your blood and, putting it into muscle, putting it in your brain. So like if you're in bad shape, you get that adrenaline dump, and you might get some of the benefits from it, but it's actually not going to be as beneficial compared to someone who's actually been training. So Asher, what about you? So real quick, just what have you seen departments doing to kind of mitigate this besides what Zach's been saying?
So when I worked for the same department that Zach's at right now, they had an outside agency come in to do a training for us. Shout out to Frontline Foundations in Bells Falls, Vermont. They're fantastic, and they do like a week-long retreat program for first responders and veterans, as well as like outpatient therapy and trainings for departments. And they talked about that slow burn of constant sympathetic simulation that first responders and veterans live in. And, I shared that I experienced a ton of heartburn, acid reflux, GERD stuff. And like I went and did a barium swallow, which is like the diagnostic test that they'll do for that. And it didn't show anything. So like I'm taking the proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, and eating Tums like candy, and nothing helps. Like miserable at night. And in that training, they talked about the number one medication that first responders are on is PPIs. And the reason why is you're constantly in your sympathetic nervous system mode, and it's preventing you from digesting your food. So all this food is just sitting in your gut rotting. And that's why you're having acid reflux. And so they just gave us some simple like mindfulness and breath work techniques to fool your brain to, I'm not being chased by a lion right now. I don't need all this epinephrine and cortisol. And
you can digest now.
Yeah. So I have virtually no acid reflux anymore. And it's
good.
Just breath work and cutting out like candy and soda.
Yeah.
Pretty much did it for me.
Yeah. And one of the things too that I think contributes to it for you guys is actually the equipment that you're around. It actually can cause a pretty severe electron imbalance in your body, which is so proton pump inhibitors. They're reducing basically the charge on one side of the cells to promote the breakdown, because that's basically what acid does. Is it's breaking down through just say through positive and negative charges, right? And you become very imbalanced when you're around certain types of equipment. Where you can your body, the cells in your body can be charged very negatively, and like even this might sound kind of woo woo, but even grounding after coming back from a call can be useful because you just all that equipment that you're surrounded with in the ambulance, and even there's all the wireless stuff and everything else. They're all emitting frequencies that are hitting your body, and they're also conflicting with your circadian rhythm because there's the lights. Again, all the EMF signaling that you're getting is telling your body while you're in fight or flight mode, it's daytime. So be super, super stimulated. Then you get back, like it's really hard to go to sleep when you've been getting daytime fight or flight, response for the last like hour, few hours, or however long it might be. So a couple ways. So those are obviously great ways to mitigate it. So there's different modes of breath work that you can use. I think one of the easier ones is what's called box breathing, where you just basically do it's because you can visualize it like a box. So it's 4 seconds of breathing in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds of breathing out, hold for 4 seconds. So like actual empty lungs, 4 seconds, and then repeat. You do that just even 5 times or so. It takes you like whatever, a minute or something. Just that alone can drastically change your response. And mouth closed, by the way, this should be done through your nose, because actually breathing through your mouth is part of what keeps you sympathetic. Breathing through your noses actually promotes a state of, I should say, a parasympathetic state. So don't do this through your mouth. I mean, it's still going to do something, but it's not going to be nearly as effective. I'd also mention grounding can be useful. And grounding, you don't have to stand in grass, by the way. you can walk over and touch a tree or touch anything that possibly conducts a little bit of electricity. So those of you that have like experienced like getting shocked, in the winter or whatever, because it's dry and stuff, think of all the things as a kid you knew not to touch to lose your static charge so you couldn't shock your friends. So even touching a wall can help. Touching a metal pole outside can help. You don't have to take your shoes off necessarily. But anything along those lines that allows you to sort of like basically drain excessive protons back into the earth is really what you're trying to do. And it only takes like a few minutes. And a good way to do this is to actually do that breathing while you're touching whatever you're touching. It might sound crazy, but do this for 5 minutes and you'll probably walk away feeling drastically different, especially if you just came back from a call and you need to like come back down, because one of the keys is that you're looking for is you want to spend as much time as possible during the day in a parasympathetic state. You're going to get enough from work. You don't need any more sympathetic signaling. And so those can be key players. So the other thing too, obviously, that can help a lot with sleep and circadian rhythm, you can only do so much because you're getting interrupted. But when it comes time to go back and get your rest and things like that, wearing red light filtering glasses and actually having a red light in your bunk that you can turn on for several minutes. And it doesn't have to be shining in your face. It just needs to be, in your bunk area or something like that, or even just in the room. You can have it turn on for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, however long you think it might take for you to calm down. It will signal to your brain like, hey, it's time, we can go to sleep, that kind of thing. And this is because in the morning and evening, so when the sunlight has to pass through the most atmosphere is when it's more red light and infrared dominant. And that's what we're looking for. We're recreating that evening light characteristic, because during the middle of the daytime, that's when you have max UV signaling, you have a lot more blue light and that kind of thing. But evening time is red light dominant. It's also infrared dominant. Blue light is minimized, as is UV, because UV basically gets more and more filtered out the more atmosphere the sun passes through. It's just purely atmosphere. It's not like anything crazy going on. It's just like the atmosphere filters out certain things at certain times because of how much atmosphere sunlight has to pass through to reach the point where you are on Earth. And so that can also be useful. With red light, we usually want to say like more is better as far as how powerful of a light you get. But even if you get a 10 watt, like unit or something like that, it's going to have a positive effect. And of course, one thing to watch out for is like doom scrolling on your phone or anything like that. People like to fall asleep on their phone. Like if you got your algorithm dialed in on that, this is just my speculation, but I think if you get your algorithm dialed in on Instagram and you're just like looking at like funny dog videos or something like that, that actually could be okay. But a lot of people are watching things that like might get them irritated because it's like, oh, that stupid political whatever or anything like that. Don't do that. If you get a lot of that type of stuff on your social media, don't do that. Find something to listen to if you have to, or nothing is better. But if you're going to do something, like don't scroll on anything that's going to get you like hyped up. If you consume a lot of fitness content, don't watch inspirational content. It's like, yeah, I want to go lift. It's like, no, it's time to sleep right now.
Read a book. I mean, books actually come in paper form now. They don't. They're not just on your devices. So that's another thing that's great. Usually calms me down if I'm reading and reading for a while and then I'm done. I check my heart rate on my watch. It's quite low. So it's a really good way to kind of reset. But yeah, that's great stuff there. Advice for calming that down. Are you guys housed out of fire stations, or where are you most of the time during the day? Like, is there equipment that you work out with when you're at work, or is that just a home thing? When do you schedule things like that?
Go ahead, Asher. Go ahead.
So I'm at a police station, and they have janky workout section set up that I'll use sometimes. And then I brought with me like one lighter weight kettlebell and one heavyweight kettlebell that I'll use sometimes if I can work up the motivation and find the time.
Yeah. And even so, even if you're not trying to train for the purpose of like getting stronger, put on muscle mass while you're on shift like that, even if you get away and you can do like some movement, whatever it may be, even if it's body weight oriented, that has two effects. It does actually tend to make you more sympathetic after training, not during training, but after training, you do have a come down effect. And it also can help eliminate some brain fog and things like that if you've just woken up or anything along those lines. So it's not, the emphasis there doesn't necessarily have to be that like you have to push heavy weights to gain muscle mass. It's actually to put you in the kind of state that you want to be in to to do your job, because it has this both stimulating effect and focusing effect, helping you just wake up and stay, you know, as alert as possible. But you can perhaps return back to that parasympathetic state that you're looking for post-training.
Yeah.
Cool. So diet, let's talk about diet for a minute. So diet with you guys is a bit rough because of the constraints of the job. So a lot of it's going to come down to pre-planning, because if you just organically consume whatever's around you, the fast food place, the gas station that's just down the street from a scene that you're at or something like that, you might have a very bad time. So what have you guys used as far as like go-to meal preps, and what do you do when you're out and you do need to grab something?
I do a lot with I do a lot with protein. So I have either like a protein bar or shake that I bring with me, stick it in the fridge if I need to grab something quick. That's kind of my go-to. We try to pre-plan our meals for the week, especially on the days that I know I'm going into work, to be a higher in protein, lower in carbs. So just a protein and a vegetable, really. And if I have to stop somewhere, so we're headed out to Boston. It's been like 4 hours and I'm, feeling hungry. If I have to grab something from like a gas station, I try to make it something that's higher in protein, lower in carb and sugar, like a beef jerky or protein shake if that's available. And there's
a lot of gas stations are carrying like protein shakes, I've noticed now.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, they're not great. You can grab like a Fairlife drink or like Muscle Milk. There's like Ace K and stuff like that you have to worry about in them. But other than that, it's not too bad. I tend to gravitate more towards grabbing like some kind of like locally made beef jerky, because oddly enough, gas stations are starting to carry that now too. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Like Quest protein chips, something.
I was going to mention Quest protein chips.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, that's kind of my go-to.
Yeah.
Are you meal prepping during the week and taking that with you, or is there a place to store it?
We
not obviously while you're out, but when you're waiting at the station.
Yeah, we have refrigerators at our station, anyways. And what I meal prep for the week for work, I can just put in there.
That's good.
I mean, one thing that we both work in rural systems. Something that's much more common in bigger cities is called mobile posting, and so these poor EMTs and medics are, they'll come in and they'll get their truck, and then they are assigned to sit at various parts throughout the city that data shows the next emergency is most likely to be near there. So they very well could be on shift for 12, 16 hours and not have a refrigerator that whole time. So, invest in a good cooler, ice pack, stuff like that. What I've done that I've found to be pretty successful for meals, I will bring leftovers. I don't like officially meal prep. I'm a young dad. I don't have the time. But I'll bring leftovers with me sometimes, and I actually find the like ready-made meals you can buy online to be pretty decent. I'm using Cook Unity right now, and really good food, and it costs you about how much a takeout or a fast food meal would cost. And the ones that I'm using now, and like Factor was another one I've used previously.
Yeah.
Almost all of them, if you put your settings right, have like 50 plus grams of protein and less than 800 calories for a meal. Which that works pretty well for me. Portion control and like snacking is things that I struggle with if I just have a lot of downtime as a rural system. So limiting myself to like the set meals and quality snacks if I'm going to snack is good. One thing I run into, like if we do I eat my dinner at 6 or 7 or whatever, and then we do a call right around bedtime, and I end up back at the station and it's like 1 a.m. and my rhythm's all messed up. My metabolism's been going longer, and now I'm famished at 1 a.m. and and doom snacking while I doom scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
I
see
think
how
that
on the days that you're there and there really aren't any calls coming in, you can be really structured. And then on the days when there's just a lot of calls, it's hard and it throws everything off.
Mhm.
How often is it that you have like slow days? How often is it that you're obviously in a rural area? It's going to be different than a city, but for you, how often is it that you have kind of a more structured day that you're even able to do?
I mean, it's just so variable.
Yeah.
Zach will agree. And as I worked for that agency, like you could have a day where you don't do anything all day and then you're out all night, or vice versa. And because it's all emergency based, you really can't plan your day around it. Like I'll outline, these are the things that I want to get done today and get to them when I can.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
More of a checklist than a routine.
yeah. I drive my
Yeah.
wife nuts because I say I like to work from an outline, and she's very detail oriented, and she wouldn't be able to hack it.
My wife's the same way. She has to hardcore plan, and I'm just like fly by the seat of your pants kind of person. So she drives me nuts.
Yeah. So, yeah, real quick, honorable mentions for me as far as restaurant food that you can find quickly. That's you can do pretty well. Obviously, everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, Chipotle. But yeah, Chipotle burrito bowl is a great.
Mhm.
You know, anywhere where you can get rice and meat is going to be good. And I'd actually, so it's usually, it's funny because every, Asian food gets a bad rap because often it's fried and stuff like that. You can get teriyaki chicken, stuff like that. It's usually just chicken with a little bit of like slightly sugary sauce, but it's usually not that much. And you can even ask for less sauce if you want. I don't, but if that's what you want, you can do that. But it's going to be served with a white rice. That's fine, and that's a good go-to. And also places that serve lettuce wraps, like sandwich shops and burger places. A lot of places are serving lettuce wraps now. It can be a great option. I've actually done Subway and got like a 6-inch sub and asked for double meat. And that's pretty good. And you can always like not eat the buns or just eat like the top bun or eat the bottom bun. Not eat the top bun, only eat the bottom bun. It'd be weird if you only ate the top bun. I guess I don't know how that works.
I mean, you can turn it upside down and then it's the bottom. So
that's true.
All perspective.
Wasn't that like a Burger King thing that they did around?
they did they did.
You could
Where
use
I don't know if they
or stuff.
just shook up a big bag of buns and just hope they landed a certain way, but it was that was a weird promotion.
Yeah, and so one thing that I've done because I worked with a couple first responders, I also worked with a guy. He was like, he owned a trucking company, and so like, but he was the owner, and so if someone called in and they were like sick and they couldn't make a route, which could be at any time of night or day, he'd just get up and go. And it's like, I got to cover that because someone's going to do it. So it's very similar kind of circumstance there. I planned for him to have a go bag that he kept stocked up. That was like, if you bring this with you, you'll be okay for, like 3 meals and a couple snacks. And it was all just food that is non-perishable. So there was jerky in there. I think we went with the Costco beef strips or whatever they're called. We did, there's Quest protein in there. Or Quest protein chips, I should say. I think there was a couple like, ready to go protein shakes, not the powder because you might not have time for that. But those are decent options. And then of course for snacky stuff, there's also like one thing that I do like is actually like some of the popcorn that comes in a bag. There are various kinds, but like even like Pirate's Booty and some of those, there are hardly any calories. It's mostly air. There's like no fats in it. It's not oily. It's not fried or anything like that. And if you're feeling snacky, you can eat that and you'll be just fine. And so you can kind of like build a go bag, keep it stocked. And, realistically, if like in your guys' scenario, if you're gone for 2 days, that might be all you need while you're out and about to at least keep bases covered. So you don't end up like gorging yourself on like gas station hot dogs or like pizza that's been soaking in grease under a lamp for the last several hours.
Yeah. It's stuff.
Do you have, if you're out with a lot of people where you kind of fight over where you're stopping, or can you just kind of go where you want?
Most of the time, we can just kind of go where we want. In our area, we have a few different places, so we can go to a I can go to wherever my partner wants to go, and then I can go to where I would want to go, if that was the case.
Okay.
Most of the time, I can find something anywhere. Apart from fast food, I haven't, ever since I started my journey, I haven't touched fast food because that was one thing that I really struggled with. So like a drug addict, you don't touch the drug. It's kind of it for me. But there's an abundance of places that we can go around here where I can find something that I can eat.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I think, and a lot of this is going to come down to, it's a common theme on the podcast, and it's going to bear out here. Planning ahead, thinking ahead. You don't have to necessarily have every little detail mapped out, but knowing in your head, like, I'm going to find somewhere that there's like just meat and rice or just meat and veggies. And that's what I'm going to do. My goal when I'm on, when I'm out here, this is what's going to happen. If I walk out that door on an emergency or a call of some kind, I'm bringing the go bag and I'll throw it, in the truck or whatever. That's like but it doesn't happen if you don't have that in your head beforehand, because you're going to find yourself out with no plan, and that's when you make bad decisions. Right. And it's not, and you can't expect yourself to make particularly good decisions when you're sleep deprived and stressed out, and you're coming off of an adrenaline dump and everything else, and you're starving, you're hungry. The tendency is going to just be to reach for whatever junk is around and make the worst decisions, because that's the temptation. But if you already have pre-framed in your mind, this is how I behave when I'm out and about, when I'm responding to a call and we're out long or whatever it is, then you're going to like just tend to make better decisions. A common thing that I like to reiterate is, don't make decisions about food while you're hungry. Make sure you've made those decisions before you're hungry, because hunger drives bad decision making almost every time. One thing too, so I know, Asher, you use nicotine. Have you guys found nicotine to be helpful with appetite suppression in those types of scenarios?
I suck at self-diagnosis. So like identifying I'll be a master detective when you're telling me about your complaints and symptoms, and I'll do the same thing and not be able to identify it myself. I've used nicotine intermittently for like the same period of time that I've been lifting pretty regularly, and I've lost a good deal of weight, and I'm snacking a lot less. Before I was doing nicotine, I gummy candy all the time, drank soda all the time, and so I don't know if that's filled in and helped with that. But I will say too, like, having some sugar on hand isn't the worst, so long as you can have some self-control. But like, if you're like, your go bag can contain some gummies, it can contain some Sour Patch Kids, and maybe 1 or 2 Rice Krispies treats or something like that, because after that adrenaline dump, your blood sugar is gonna drop, obviously, as well. It typically is down once the adrenaline's been doing its thing for a little bit. You just don't feel it, but you will feel it shortly. And just getting that mental clarity and focus back with 10 grams of carbs or something like that can be really helpful. And it's not bad for you as long as it fits the rest of your macros. It has to be obviously factored into the greater picture of like what you're eating that day. But it's not like you can't reach for those things acutely in the moment when you need to. Then obviously you have to be careful. If you're someone that's like, well, I can't just eat one, or whatever, then don't.
Maybe not a family size bag, just like a single serving type of thing.
And like gummies come in those little packets, right? And so that can be really helpful. Rice Krispies treat, eat the whole thing, whatever. I think it's like 90 calories. But if you're going to be out for several hours and need a quick pick me up, I don't think that reaching for those is a terrible idea, especially if you can down a pre-made protein drink with it real quick. Whether we're talking about like the Pure Protein or one of those types of deals. That's not going to be a bad way to go about your business, and at least keep you from reaching for something that you otherwise shouldn't. I know that like with my diet clients, some of them have had good success with nicotine, particularly in the evenings, to mitigate like the snackies, the munchies. But anyway, Zach, is that something you utilize or no?
No, I don't utilize nicotine. I don't really struggle. Oops, sorry, we're getting a call right now. I don't have to go, but I don't particularly get snacky even after a call.
Okay.
I just don't. If I do get snacky, shout out to Quest again because they make like these mock M&Ms and they're pretty comparable. And the nutrition facts on them are pretty nice. Very low in sugar and carb. There is some, so if you do have to have a little bit of a sugar dump, you get that. And then high in protein because it's a Quest brand. But those have been like a lifesaver for me sometimes if I want something sweet and snacky.
Yeah, I didn't know about the M&Ms. That's new to me. Or did you say M&Ms or they're like M&Ms or Skittles?
They're like M&Ms. They're like the peanut M&Ms because they got the peanut in the middle.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's awesome.
I would try that. I think the chips are disgusting. That's just me.
All right, Amanda's getting booted.
That.
Just a second, guys.
I'm getting fired right now.
Yeah.
But I had one of their like peanut butter cups too, and it got stuck to the roof of my mouth so bad I had to use a butter knife to like pop it off. So it was just
Sorry,
like they're so chewy, so chewy.
So
I'm gonna have to try those.
For my dogs, when they have a birthday, we give them like a hunk of raw meat, and we put peanut butter on it because dogs love peanut butter. Not a ton, but the peanut butter's on the top. My youngest dog, when she turned 1, we did this for her. And she got crazy about the peanut butter. So she just like I don't know how she did. She basically slurped up all the peanut butter all at once. Just like it was gone off the top. And she couldn't get it off the roof of her mouth. And it was hilarious watching her try to get that off with her tongue and drooling all over the place. And just like, and she's part hound. And so she's got huge jowls. And it just turned into this like frothing peanut butter mess as she tried to like dislodge it. It was, we were all just like laughing at her. I think I have some video of it. So my dog knows exactly what you went through.
Yeah, it was awful. I would think the appetite suppressant is, or not just, but is the most important on like when you have a call come in. And then while you're not having a call come in, that's the time that you should load up on the food that you can. So you're ready and you have the energy to do the call without, huge crash or something like that. Yeah. But there's probably an issue where there are a lot of medics who might not be the healthiest. Maybe they don't need to be eating quite as much and snacking off of a call, but it's still something to be aware of, like when to time the appetite suppression as far as being on the call and being fueled up enough beforehand so that you have the strength to lift what you need to lift or to go for as long as the call is going to be going. How do you time that, or what if you are using anything for appetite suppressant? Is it like get a call, pop a pouch in? Like what's your protocol?
Go ahead.
For me with the nicotine, there's like 2 times that I find it really helpful at work. And that's like assisting with that 0 to 60, going to a call, especially in the middle of the night. Throwing one in on the call, I feel like it makes me sharper in the moment. And as kind of just something to do instead of snack on downtime when I'm bored. But a substitute for that, if you're not into nicotine, chewing gum is good. And sunflower seeds. I love sunflower seeds, and just like you're not eating very much calories at all. You could sit there and eat
very busy.
Whole bag.
Yeah.
And it's not that much calories. It's mostly protein. Be cautious about sodium if that's a problem for you. But you get the sensation like you're eating a meal, and you're not. Keeps you busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does keep
more
you
of like
busy.
an oral fixation kind of.
Yeah.
Thing.
A little Freudian, but.
Yeah, and get the ones that still have the shells on. Don't get the shelled ones,
right?
Because it's literally to keep you busy eating something without you actually being able to eat very much, because you got to work hard to eat very many sunflower seeds if they're still in the shell. that's actually a really great tip.
For me, I grab something carbonated like a seltzer or like a diet soda. I'm not a big proponent of soda, but in the middle of the night, if I need something that the carbonated kind of helps wake me up a little bit, I'll grab like a Diet Coke or just like a seltzer water or something.
Carbonation is great. A lot of bodybuilders actually use that in prep whenever there's a lot of hunger, because it gives the sensation of fullness.
Yeah,
and like you're getting some calories without actually ruining your diet and throwing you off. So that's actually a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually noticed too. I was actually talking to my wife about this the other day, that it does seem like electrolyte drinks do have a more satiating effect as well. They sit a little heavier than regular just water. So it's not a bad idea to keep some of those around, so that like if you're out, for a while, dump some in, whatever water you've got, or you get a water bottle or something like that. It can help the water sort of sit heavier, if you will, and have a similar type of effect where it might help you like go a little longer before you're overcome with temptation, shall we say.
I love the electrolytes. Fire Science Nutrition makes a really good no sugar electrolyte supplement that I use pretty regularly. LMNT is another one. You got to be cautious because some of them just have a ton of additives and all this sugar and crap. But I almost, like, I do drink water, but most of it has the electrolytes, and it helps me to just drink the water, because I would gravitate towards an energy drink or Coke Zero or something like that otherwise.
Yeah. And I will say too, like Coke Zero, Diet Coke, those two, they don't have that much caffeine in them. I mean, obviously we want to be careful about stimulant use, but I think they typically have like 50 to 25 grams, or not grams, milligrams, that would kill you, of caffeine in them. Whereas like, a strong cup of coffee could have 100 milligrams of coffee or of caffeine in it. So like, it's not as much as an energy drink. It might take the edge off without, and some people do get an appetite suppressant effect from caffeine. I don't actually. Caffeine makes me really hungry, but normal people,
Same.
I've heard, tend to not be that way, and they'll actually get a suppressant effect somewhat from the caffeine. So that can be useful. It's just that be aware that if you're going to have to sleep, I'll just say probably about 4 to 6 hours after you consume that drink, the quality of your sleep, even if you do fall asleep, will just not be as good, because it promotes an epinephrine response. It's a nootropic. It's stimulating. Your heart rate's going to be elevated. Your blood pressure is going to go up just a little bit. And so like, be aware of that. But if you know that you're going to be out for a while and you need something to help you, I would actually say if you're looking for caffeine, something like a diet soda is actually often going to be a better idea than like a straight energy drink that's going to contain far more caffeine, plus like some of the B12s and things like that can be highly stimulating and probably way more than you actually need. Might lead to jitters, and actually can, in my experience, can lead to like actual brain fog, just because of how stimulating it is once you start getting into the come down, like 45 minutes, half an hour after you're done drinking it. Cool. So the area that we wanted to sort of like really conclude this with is like the longevity aspect. It's been well studied and established that when you do shift work, typically, with big population data, it cuts several years off your life, just because, as you can imagine, all these things add up. Now, I don't know if that can be totally mitigated by all the things that we mentioned. We don't know, because we don't have the data to say yes or no. But most likely, much of that damage, because it's mostly metabolic damage, can probably be mitigated through the strategies that we've outlined. And so, as going forward, our focus is twofold. We want to be as prepared as possible to do our jobs well, and specifically for you guys as you serve your communities and things like that. If you are 10 years into the job and your body's broken down, you're mentally broken down, things like that, you won't be able to serve as be as capable as far as service goes. You guys both mentioned that you're now more capable than you were before. How does this fitness, diet, and all these strategies for protecting circadian rhythm and things like that, has that played out in your lives as far as making you more capable professionally? And where do you see that continuing to play out going forward on an ongoing basis as you continue to sort of invest yourselves in these strategies? Zach, you haven't talked a little bit, so maybe let you go first.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, just overall health improvement, I had severe sleep apnea due to obesity, and with getting into shape, that's now been resolved. I don't have to rely on the CPAP anymore, and my quality of sleep has drastically improved because I'm not sleeping with a 100-pound plate on my chest anymore. Or all the fat around the neck and
the thick neck.
Just massive BMI that was just completely killing my sleep. And I've noticed that I have so much more energy throughout the day. Brain fog is gone, and all of that is just attributed to the good quality circadian rhythm sleep. I notice that after my workouts, I try to get one in the morning and then one in at night, because after I get done with my nightly one, I'm ready to go to bed. Like it's I've worked up worked my muscles. I'm ready to now I'm ready to sleep. Just huge changes just from strength training.
Not everybody gets that response where you can fall asleep after you work out. I know that if I have a workout at night, there's no way I'm going right to sleep. But just the nature of the job, you've probably just trained yourself to be able to do that.
Yeah, I would suspect a factor there too is doing it after you come back from a call, because it's probably going to help you come back down better than if you did nothing. So I think it's a little bit different of a scenario in a sense too, because I'm the same way. If I work out in the evening, I don't want it to be super late because elevated body temperature, that stimulant effect and everything. I'll actually take taking a shower helps. But there's only so much you can do. But I kind of wonder if in Zach's particular case, if he's, what he's describing is actually sort of a result of just actually getting, even though when you train, it typically puts you in somewhat of a sympathetic state, it's probably so much less of a sympathetic state that it's a big improvement and you're sort of headed the right direction now. And you're focusing on something that's not stressing you out. So there's the mental aspect, there's the physiological aspect. And I kind of wonder if particular to this demographic, what we're actually could be seeing is that might be more true for other people than it is for, for someone, that's like a first responder or something like that.
I think a big thing that I do differently in the evening as compared to the morning when I'm doing my workout is what I'm listening to as well. So in the morning, when I'm trying to really jack myself up and get the weight in the air, I'm listening to something a little more heavy, like August Burns Red or some kind of metal. When I'm doing my workout later on in the day, I'm listening to something that has a 424 hertz frequency. The frequencies are really huge in the way that they play a big role in activating our vagus nerve stimulation. And I that's kind of another big change that I do at night just to kind of help me calm down. And that workout, and I think with that vagus nerve stimulation afterwards, has been a huge role in helping me to dip into that parasympathetic nervous system and calm down a bit.
Yeah. How about for you, Asher?
Yeah, I mean, I see my commitment to fitness being an investment in my longevity in the field. I love what I do and I want to do it for a long time, and I'm not content to do it in a mediocre way. They make us do every few years as a paramedic, I have to do 60 hours of continuing education to demonstrate my commitment to the intellectual discipline of maintaining my medical prowess and skills. And that's important. That's really important. But your physical capability to do the job is just as important. Because you can know all the stuff in the world, be a great professor, and not be able to climb up and out of the truck. They teach us for CPR. One of the reasons that you can stop CPR is if you're too exhausted to continue. And I don't ever want to be in that position to make the decision that with the resources I have, being me, I can no longer successfully resuscitate this person because I'm too exhausted.
Yeah, that's not a decision you want to ever put yourself in the place of making.
That's actually not very easy to do, CPR, for a long time. We got CPR certified for our adoption. And it's actually a lot harder because, I mean, you don't see it on the TV shows, but you're pressing inches into that chest repeatedly and you have to stay on rhythm. So it can be quite exhausting quite quickly.
It's a great workout.
Full body.
Yeah, it's cardio. Yeah. 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 Well, you don't have the convenience necessarily of doing it for like 30 seconds or whatever. Like, if you had like the in the workplace one where they just show you how to, oh, I did that real quick on the dummy and it's fine. Like sometimes first responders are doing that for like 30 minutes or more.
Yep.
And it's really hard to maintain that. I mean, typically you're going to have people you can switch off with. But it's exhausting because you're basically doing a kind of a partial push-up, like over and over and over and over again for many, many reps for minutes at a time, potentially. So the other aspect that, the other place we want to pivot to, both of you guys are family men, you have families, you're married. This whole area of interest I think that it's a twofold assistance in that area. And maybe you guys can talk a little bit more about that. Obviously we've talked about how it makes you more capable in the workplace. But one of the things, obviously, and of course, I think it's lower hanging fruit, of course, that it's going to make you more capable as a husband and father and everything else. But another aspect of that is keeping you from bringing the job home, so that you've managed the stress of being able to come home and be more present with your family, so that you're not bringing the troubles of work into the home. So what have you guys noticed as it pertains to both those factors once you guys started like really taking care of yourselves and everything? Once you come back off of shift, how has it helped your ability to just be more capable for your families and also be more present and available to them?
Go ahead, Zach.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sure. For me, I was exhausted every time I get off of a shift because I was carrying on a lot of extra weight, and I would bring my work home with me because I come home, the wife wants to go out and do stuff, and I'm like I'm too tired. I just want to stay home and veg. I don't want to do anything, and that really put a big damper on our relationship for a while. Once I started, getting my health in order, I was no longer really tired when I got home. In fact, I oftentimes had a lot of energy, and we would always just, even if it was just to go out for a walk, she would always ask about my day. And I feel like that is important, especially in our line of work, to be able to not necessarily talk about our patients, but talk about the types of calls that we went through. And she understands that is important as well, and she'll talk to me about it. It's almost like a debriefing that we're able to do, and I would definitely recommend that you men do that with your wives, and vice versa, on a daily basis.
So one thing I used to do when I worked with Zach, there was a local gym just down the road owned by a good friend of mine. He's a firefighter and paramedic now. And I would, get off my 24-hour shift, run down there and do my, hour and a half workout before going home. And I found that really, really helpful for decompressing my day and energizing me. I do all my workouts at home unless I happen to get one in on shift now. And with the baby and million kids, it's a lot more challenging to find that time. But I found that really helpful. If you're in a similar position, that's like best case scenario, I'd say. Remind me of the question. I
really, just how has this journey of taking better care of yourselves allowed you to serve your families more? Obviously, we know it serves you professionally. We've talked about that for the last hour or so. But like, how has it made it so that you're more capable as a father and as a husband? Partly from the aspect of just being more capable anyway, as a person, and even the respect and things like that. But also, just being able to have energy for them, and being able to be present and come, not bring the job, the troubles of the job back home with you.
Depression, mental health stuff is very popular in first responder circles, both experiencing those things and talking and addressing those things these days. I've found my mood to be much better, especially when I'm in phases of regular and consistent training,
Yeah.
as well as energy to be able to come home and run around with my kids. I think the most those are both good benefits for me. The most impactful benefit for me that I've experienced is the confidence and seeing myself be able to do something hard that I wouldn't have thought that I would have been able to have done previously. Learning the skill to buck up and lift something heavy. It translates to everything. It translates well to being a first responder, but I have been a foster dad for 2 years, and we adopted my son in July, and all of that was the hardest thing that I've ever done, and I never would have even anticipated how difficult it was. And by the time that that happened, I'd been training for a while and seeing myself overcome obstacles and grow in ways that I wouldn't have even imagined. And I think that was incredibly valuable to me to be able to demonstrate success to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. I think you brought up a really good note to kind of like wrap things up with is when you exercise discipline in this area of your life, it does affect other areas in your life where you might struggle with discipline and motivation. When you've trained when it's not convenient, when you've lifted weights that weren't easy, and you do so regularly, all the time, it has an effect on you where you have more capability elsewhere mentally. It's not just that you're in better shape. It's also that you're used to doing things when you don't want to do them, because we don't always want to go to the gym when we have to. Like we don't always have the convenience of a good workout. That's like everything felt like it was moving great and it was no problem. We have crappy workout days and it's like, well, this is still what I'm going to do, and I don't feel like doing it. We all have those days, and the ability to push through is something that does apply to other areas. And I think that to those people that might be struggling with motivation and things like that, one thing that I've seen as a constant is nobody ever showed up to work out when they didn't feel like it. And on the drive home or whatever, or, on the walk home in my case, was like, man, I really wish I hadn't done that. That was a total mistake. Totally not worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I have never walked away from a workout and been like, man, I should have just like sat around. That wasn't worth it. That wasn't worth the effort.
Yeah, it's always that sense of accomplishment. Like, oh, I just did that. I just did that.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And the sense of accomplishment actually is proportionate to how challenging it was due to circumstances or due to how difficult the workout might have been, especially if it's certain kinds of lower body days. But the sense of accomplishment we're all laughing because they're like, yeah, I know.
I felt that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like when you've done those things at times that life was sort of against you doing them, then it makes you more capable of doing other things at times when life is against you doing it as well. It doesn't just apply to the gym. And that's part of why it's funny. It's almost like this is built into our DNA, because when we were talking about earlier about how it commands a degree of respect. You can buy a nice car. You can borrow money for a nice car. You can borrow money for all sorts of things. You can have it given to you even and not do anything to earn it. You have to earn fitness. It's something that nobody can give to you. Nobody can do it for you. You have to go through the motions. Yeah, people hire coaches like us to make that process easier. We help people with motivation. We help people solve the problems. But at the same time, we can't lift the weights for them. They still have to show up and do the thing. And that's going to move into other areas. I have seen so many people that I've worked with and other people that I haven't worked with, seeing their businesses do better, their careers do better, their marriages do better, because now they're more capable and able, and that discipline just sort of carries into other places of life without them like trying to do it on purpose. It's just like you're used to doing a difficult thing. And so like the other things that you might not feel motivated to do sometimes, you just sort of do them because you've sort of trained the ability to do so. And all of us should have that vision of like motivation's there some days, and those are the good days. But discipline trumps all. It doesn't matter if you're motivated. You still show up. You still do it. You still got to go to work. You still got to train. You still got to eat your diet. You still got to sleep when you can sleep and do all those things that are in your power to protect. And the net result is you'll be someone that's like we like to talk about, the jacked grandpa, the jacked grandma. And what do we mean by that? That grandparent that like in old age is able to be an asset to their grandkids, that doesn't just have to sit on the couch and like, oh, that's Grandpa Zach. He comes over and he sits on the couch because he's tired and he used to be a firefighter and his body's broken now.
No, Grandpa
Instead,
Zach swole.
I'm just saying, right? Papa Zach. So like the idea though is that like you get to that age and like you can play with those grandkids. You can actually engage in their activities, and when it, you can go over and like be an asset to your children with their grandkids because you're physically capable, instead of being like the grandparent that shows up and like kind of sits because you're not good for much else. And it's actually like more work for your kids instead of being able to bless them and serve them. This applies to so many areas in life, but if you don't put the work in when you're younger, it's really, really hard to be capable of when you're older. So have that vision. Like my goal, I have strength numbers that I want to hit at my age. There's certain things I want to do. We all have numbers we want to hit as far as our body compositions and how strong we want to be. But the longer term vision is still going to be, I want to be super capable. I want to be exceptionally capable as an older man. And, and those that are listening, and a man, like an older woman, we want to be very, very capable and not have age deteriorate our capability to serve others and to serve our families, to serve our churches, and serve those that are around us. We are physical beings, and there's a Gnostic tendency in the church to dismiss these things as shallow. I've heard popular figures call it like gay, or whatever, to like, work out and to build a physique and those types of things and to be fit. But that is not the case. All of us here are more capable at serving our families, serving in our churches and communities because of the things that we're doing. And that is very good, very beneficial, and it's anti-Gnostic. It is what we need to do. We are physical beings living in a physical world, and so we cannot afford to neglect our physical capabilities. Before we close out, Amanda, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that was really good. Few minutes speech right there. Like I can tell that you've done it before.
A couple times.
No, it's true. It's there's not really much I can add other than just agreeing with it. I've experienced it in my life, and the more often that you say yes to something that you don't really feel like doing, the easier it's going to get to do that again and again. So, it's our way, and we talk about it all the time here at High Calling. It's our way to steward our body well, to glorify God. That is our primary purpose, is glorifying God and enjoying him forever. So this is a way that we can do that even better. Yeah.
Don't put barriers in front of glorifying God and enjoying him by making yourself incapable, depressed, and lazy. So real quick announcement too, some of you guys might have seen this. Asher is specifically coaching first responders. He has a great program delivered to your phone on an app on Trade and Rise that is for the first responder community to address some of the weaknesses and the challenges that they deal with. And so anyone can go check that out, along with all of our other coaching services at highcallingfitness.com. Zach, thank you so much for joining us today and just sharing your journey and what you've been through. Asher, thanks for hopping on for the first time, hopefully one of many. And we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you guys around. And to those listening, gains and grace.
Gains and grace.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.